What is good? We got UFC Fight Night Burns vs. Morales in the UFC Apex this Saturday. I'm going to be giving my predictions for the prelims and the main card and breaking down every fight. So, yeah. Firstly, we got Tisha Pennington, Raquel Pennington's wife, versus Luana Pinheiro. There's not much to say, bruh. I'm thinking Tisha Pennington by decision. I think she's just a better fighter. I will say this, though. If you're making a parlay or you're just betting, don't bet on these women's fights. Don't bet on WMA fights because anything could happen. These ones are so unpredictable. Trust me, I've tried to predict these before. But anyways, moving on, we got Hyung-Sung Park versus Carlos Hernandez. You know how it goes. Carlos Hernandez, he just can't beat these Asians, bro. We're too good for him. Like, we got, Tatsuro Taira and then Ray Saruya. I will say this, Carlos Hernandez, he was getting back up from Ray Saruya, but I think I'm picking Hyung-Sung Park by decision. We know how the storyline goes for Carlos Hernandez versus the Asians. And I could see a TKO, but we just really don't know how good Hyung-Sung Park is. So I think right now it's safe to say a decision win for Hyung-Sung Park. Hopefully he'll surprise me with a TKO. Next up, we got Elise Reed and Denise Gomez. I don't have much to say about this one either. I think Denise Gomez is probably going to win the decision. Or I could also see like a round 3, round 2 TKO. You know, this is one of the women's fights where this is one of the rare women's fights where it's probably going to be a knockout. But yeah. Moving on, we got Luana Santos versus Tainara Lisboa. A lot of WMMA fights on this card, but I'm gonna ultimately go with Tainara Lisboa. It's hard to pick, but I think Lisboa's looked alright in her past couple fights. So yeah, that's an underdog pick. But don't bet on these, boys. Do not bet on these. Moving on, Yadier Duval versus Connor Matthews. This one's interesting, but I think Yadier Duval by TKO or decision. I think he'll be too technical for Matthews in the striking, and I don't think Matthews will be able to get it to the mat. However, the undefeated curse in 2025 is very real, and Yadier Duval fits that criteria. I think Connor Matthews isn't. I don't think that curse will save Connor Matthews, to be honest. He lost his last 2 fights, and I think this might be his last fight in the UFC. I don't know, though. But yeah, I'm picking Yadier Duval by TKO or decision. Moving on, we got a lightweight banger. We got the Battle of the Unks. I'm leaning Jared Gordon because I think he'll be a little bit quicker than Thiago Moises, and I could see him winning a decision. I could see it being close, honestly, because I think the grappling of Moises could be a big factor, and I think maybe one round he'll get him down in control, but I think the other 2 rounds Jared Gordon's going to be piecing him up and maybe win a decision. And also I think the defensive grappling of Gordon will be able to neutralize the takedowns of Moises. I think if you look at these 2's resumes, you would have to choose Moises, but if you look at their performances, I think Gordon looks a little better. So yeah, I'm choosing Jared Gordon by decision. Moving on, we got Gabe Green versus Mateus Camilo. If you guys don't know, Mateus Camilo, he's coming off beating the guy at the UFC 308 conference, the undefeated guy who asked Dana White if he could have a chance in the UFC. Mateus Camilo beat that guy, and I think this is his UFC debut. I'm thinking Camilo by decision. You know, Gabe Green, his losses aren't that bad, but I think Camilo's just coming off more momentum. He'll be able to get a decision because he's looked good recently, and I don't know, honestly, how Gabe Green's going to look in there. So, yeah, I'm picking Mateus Camilo by decision. Moving on to the main card, we got Juliana Rosa versus Melquizael Costa. These are 2 of the most active fighters on the UFC roster. Both of these fighters last fought like a month ago. So, I think that Melquizael Costa probably gets it done round 1 or 2 submission. He looks good on the feet too, you know. against Andre Fili when Andre Fili shot, and he was piecing up Andre Fili. Andre Fili shot for a takedown, and then he gets a sub. But both of them are on pretty good streaks. Juliana Rosa is coming off his win against Darren Elkins. But I think Elkins is old, and I don't think that's that good of a win to have. So I think Costa has had better performances, and I honestly think he's better pretty much in every aspect of the game. So yeah, I'm going with Melquizael Costa to win by submission in round 1 or 2. Moving on, we got Nursultan Ruzaboya versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I don't know how to say his name, but I'm picking Nursultan Ruzaboya by first round KO. He's had a very impressive performances in his last few fights, and his only loss was to Joaquin Buckley by decision, which is not a bad loss at all, considering Buckley went on to KO Wonderboy and beat the shit out of and TKO Colby. And I'm picking Buckley to beat Usman too, so not getting KO'd by Buckley and losing a decision, which was kind of competitive. So yeah, that's not that bad, and I think Nursultan Ruzaboyev is going to get a first-round knockout in this fight, and I think he's way more powerful and technical. So yeah. Moving on, Sadiq Youssef versus Myron Santos. This is a lock right here. Put the house on Sadiq Youssef. If there's one fight, if you want to just put an individual down, put it on Sadiq Youssef to win this fight. I could see a TKO from Sadiq, but I'm more leaning towards a decision. Or shit, I could see a just put it on Sadiq. You could, if you have FanDuels, do TKO or a decision, but because Myron Santos he lost to Francis Marshall. Let's be for real. He got a robbery win, and I think Sadiq Youssef is a very high step up in competition for Myron Santos. I mean, he was ranked. So yeah, I think he's going to piece him up and have low-key like a masterclass. And yeah, he's going to get Myron Santos either out of there in like the third or just win a decision, win a dominant like 30-27. Yeah. For the co-main event of this fight night, we got Rodolfo Bellato versus Paul Craig. Hard fight to pick. I mean, not the hardest fight to pick, but it's a weird pick because it's Paul Craig. I could always see him getting a fluke, but at this point in career, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think Rodolfo Bellato is gonna pick him apart on the feet, and as long as he doesn't try to engage in any grappling, which at this point, if you're fighting Paul Craig, you know not to go on the mat with him, even if you drop him. So yeah, I see a round 3 TKO by Rodolfo Bellato, and I think that's the safest pick to make. So moving on to the main event, we got Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales. This one is interesting, right? Because Burns is definitely out of his prime, but he hasn't looked that like. He lost all. He's on a 3-fight he's on a 3-fight losing streak. But who did he lose to, right? Bilal Muhammad, former champion, just lost his belt. Jack Della Maddalena, current champion. Sean Brady, number 1 contender, and who I would pick to beat the current champion, Jack Della Maddalena. And he had success against JDM, which, I think JDM got better, so we can't say much about that. I don't think he's looked that bad in his last performances. Going against Michael Morales, who's coming off of a round 1 knockout against Neil Magny. So this is a big step up in competition for Michael Morales. And I honestly think the way that Michael Morales beat Neil Magny is pretty overrated, because everyone just sees it as a round 1 knockout. But it was kind of a competitive round 1, to be honest. I think he's improved. He's had like about a year off, so I think he'll be improved. And I can see Burns having some success early on with the grappling, like especially if he's able to like shoot some takedowns or like get him to the mat. But I think Michael Morales is gonna slowly pick him apart on the feet. I think the power is the power is similar, but I think Morales definitely has the advantage in that realm. So yeah, I can see a round 4 or 3 TKO from Morales. I don't think he's going to flatline Burns. I think the power of Morales might be a little overrated, although I could definitely see it because we don't know how Burns is going to look in there. But I think the safest pick would be round 3 or round 4 TKO for Morales. We don't know how his cardio is gonna look, but I honestly think he'll be fine in that regard. But yeah, so those are my picks. Overall, there's not many locks on the. If you're betting, there's not many locks, but a little parlay that I could cook up is like, don't bet on any of these women's fights. Yadier Duvall, or is that even? I don't even know if that's worth it. It doesn't show the odds. I'd say maybe throw Jared Gordon on there. Mateus Camilo for sure. Melquizel Costa, Ruzaboyev. Oh, Sadiq's a lock. Put a lot. If you, I would honestly just put it. I'm a low key just put an individual on Sadiq Yusuf, because I know that fool's gonna. I don't know how. Yeah, Santos is a favorite too. That's a lock. Yeah, put everything on Sadiq. Bet on Bellato. He's a minus 520, so it doesn't matter. And don't bet on the main event. Maybe throw something on Gilbert, because I think I can see Gilbert having some success, but I think Michael Morales is going to win, but I wouldn't bet on it because he's a minus 800 and Gilbert's a plus 575. So if you think Gilbert's going to win, put a little bit on Gilbert. But yeah, so those are my predictions and breakdowns for the UFC Fight Night, Burns versus Morales. I'll probably be streaming this one, my reactions to all these fights. So if you want to tune in, I'll be live on Saturday. But yeah.